A federal judge blocked President Trump's deployment of National Guard troops to Portland. The president is losing in court on this, but is he losing in the court of public opinion? CNN chief data analyst Harry Enten, who just made a lap around the entire studio.
I don't know what that was. I guess they're thinking I need more exercise.
You showed up here at the wall at the exact right moment. What's public opinion saying right now about the use of National Guard troops, the deployment into cities?
Yeah, it's a political loser, John. It's a political loser. Donald Trump may think it's a political winner, but it's a political loser. Opposed Trump deploying in a U.S. city, active duty U.S. military, 61%. The National Guard in particular, 58%. When you get 3 in 5 Americans agreeing on anything, you know if that is on the opposition side, it's a political loser. And among independents, who are, of course, that key block in the middle of the United States political electorate, we're talking about 2/3 of independents there and about who oppose the deployment of either active duty U.S. military or National Guard into U.S. cities.
What are the questions that people are asking, or what are the issues they see with these deployments?
Okay, look, I think it's that they don't buy Donald Trump's case for why these troops must go into the U.S. cities. So the New York Times essentially gave you a two-pronged little answer here, right? Trump may use the National Guard to intimidate rivals, or big city crime will spiral out of control if the troops don't go into cities. What you see here is the majority that takes the case is that Trump may use the National Guard to intimidate political rivals at 51%. Just 42% of Americans agree with the Donald Trump stance that, in fact, big city crime will spiral out of control if the National Guard doesn't go into U.S. cities. So essentially what we're seeing here is Donald Trump's making a case, the Democratic opposition's making another case, and the Democratic opposition's case is winning here, and that is a big reason why what you see is you get about 3 in 5 Americans saying they don't want troops going into U.S. cities.
You have another really interesting way at looking at this. President Trump seems uniquely focused on Portland, on Memphis, on these cities and crime there. What do voters think he should be focused on?
Okay, so if you saw the opening slide on this segment, right, it was, has Trump taken his eye off the ball? The American people believe, yes, John Berman, Donald Trump has taken his eye off the ball. There is too much focus on putting troops into U.S. cities. 52%, the majority of Americans agree that the Trump admin is focusing too much on that. Where do they want him to go? They want him to focus on lowering prices. 75% say there's too little focus on lowering prices. This is the reason that Donald Trump was put into office, was to lower prices. And at this particular point, 3 in 4 Americans say there is too little focus. Donald Trump is focusing on the wrong things, and they don't like the way he's going about it. And this, my friends, will tell the entire story if it holds a year from now, going into the midterm elections. If the Republicans lose control of the House, dare lose control of the Senate, it will be because they believe that Donald Trump has lost focus. He is not keeping his eye on the ball, and they believe he is not focusing enough on lowering prices.
Interesting numbers coming out on prices and inflation and the economy this week. We'll have much more to talk about.
I think we will have much more this week, Mr. Berman.
And thank you very much for that. Sarah.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. President Donald Trump is once again saying he'll send, as you just heard, hundreds of National Guard troops to protect ICE. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker calling it, quote, an invasion, and urging Americans to speak up and stop the madness. With me now, Democratic State Senator from Illinois, Graciela Guzman. Thank you so much for being here. What is your biggest worry when it comes to troops coming into your state? Trump even looking at trying to sort of go around what a judge has already ordered on Portland to send National Guard troops from other states like Texas into your state.
Good morning, Sarah. Look, I think when you ask what I'm scared about, the fact of the matter is that we've already seen what is coming through the actions of ICE in my district and communities across the state of Illinois. What we're seeing is an authoritarian playbook where the Trump administration has continued moving full steam ahead with an unconstitutional invasion, military control of our cities. What that looks like in districts like mine is folks are being shot indiscriminately. We have tear gas being deployed within a block of a school near an emergency room. It is absolute chaos that is being caused and ultimately undermines public safety and our ability to be able to continue providing services for our constituents. And that's only going to continue to be exacerbated by possible actions of the National Guard here in Chicago and in Illinois.
I want to let DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, in her own words, give the reason for why ICE and troops, she believes, should be sent into Chicago. She was speaking to Fox and addressing Chicago's mayor in an interview this weekend. Here's what she said.
This is a war zone. His city is a war zone, and he's lying so that criminals can go in there and destroy people's lives. Where we have gone, we've made it much more free. People are much safer.
What do you think of her words there, that Chicago is a war zone and they have made it safer and more free?
Well, first, I'll cite that in Illinois and Chicago, we were actually seeing a decrease in crime and violence, with deep thanks to the investments that we have made in public safety and violence prevention, right? That what I do know is that the war zone, again, is being created by the Trump administration's ICE. Tear gas being deployed at folks being stopped based on the color of their skin, the language that they speak. Older people in my area being temporarily detained for asking a constitutional right, and affirming their right. They are creating the havoc. They are creating the war zone. And what I will say is my constituents do not feel safe. I was in my office on Friday getting call after call after call from folks that are seeing things occur outside their window. Right. So what I do know is the war zone is being created by the Trump administration. Our communities are not better, not safer. And in fact, I would argue we're seeing unprecedented spending for unpopular mass deportation at the expense of things that do keep us safe. Things like putting healthcare in the lives of millions of Americans and millions of Illinoisans. So they are choosing a route to continue to push war-based tactics here rather than actually resourcing and supporting our communities.
I do want to talk to you about what happened at a building, an apartment building on the south side of Chicago. The governor saying that he's ordered an investigation into how these 200 ICE agents stormed this south side building, yanking dozens of people, including American children, out of their beds. What have you learned about what happened during that September 30th raid?
I think we're still learning a lot of the details of what happened that night. And I think that in part is really problematic. Thinking about the time of day that they chose, it was literally the middle of the night that we're pulling babies, families, moms into vehicles and carting them away, that we are disrupting people as they're getting ready to go to work and to school. But that is because they know that what they are doing is truly insidious and heinous. And so our community in the South Shore is still reckoning with what has occurred. As you can imagine, it does nothing to help restore, again, our sense of peace, of safety, of community. And so I'm grateful that there's an investigation underway because those people deserve justice.
Graciela Guzman, I do want to get your response to what ICE had said. They said, look, we were able to detain and arrest 37 people who were undocumented immigrants. That is a lot of people. And is that a good justification for how they went about this raid?
There's no justification for how they are acting in this community. Again, they are converting districts like mine, districts where we have hardworking parents, students, children that want to have opportunity into a fearful place where folks can't trust our government. They can't trust the good that we're doing, all to justify, again, an authoritarian agenda that means that folks that have my skin color, that speak Spanish, that speak other languages are being held hostage to an administration just for that authoritarian will. So no, I don't think that the means justify the end. And it's why we're going to continue ensuring that in states like ours, that we continue to lead into ensuring that our folks understand their constitutional rights, that we resource rapid response, which is our community-led efforts to ensure that our communities feel safe. And at the state perspective, we're going to continue doing what we're doing, which is understanding that policy has a role to play in how we keep our community safe and resourced.
All right, State Senator from Illinois, Graciela Guzman, thank you so much for coming on this morning. Appreciate it.